Are we live? Are we live? Is this thing on? Yes, it is. Woo! Oh, give it up for DJ Airson. I am loving the happy hour. That is definitely we did it for the first time a couple of weeks ago, and we are sticking with that. It is so nice to have a happy hour set, kind of kick off the weekend, kind of a ramp down from your work week. Those of you who are still working, I mean, and you're probably all working from home, but yeah, it's really cool, and I love having a little lead in for this little mashup talk. Maybe I should change the spelling to mashup talk. That should be a W instead of an L. And it's so nice to see. My booty DJs as well. Normally, back when before the corona apocalypse. Ooh, am I a little quiet tonight? Really? Wow, it doesn't look like I'm quiet. Yeah, I don't want to distort on my end, but you know what? Maybe I'm just not kissing the microphone. Oh, you guys want that whole ASMR thing, don't you? Where I'm like, all right, welcome to Pride Weekend. Are you all ready? Yeah. Anyway, it's so nice to see at least the faces of my booty mashup crew, because normally on especially Pride weekend, it's like all hands on deck. We're all there. It's just the hometown crew mostly. We don't have guest DJs or anything for unless it's like other queer DJs from booty mashup parties in other cities, like DJ Freddie, King of Pants in Seattle, Shy Boy and New Bar in LA. Yes, we all queer. A lot of times they'll come up because San Francisco is ground zero for LGBT pride parties for sure, on the West Coast. I mean, LA holds its own too, but that's like 2 weeks before. And San Francisco's pride celebration is always on the last weekend of the month, because the Stonewall riots, which is how pride celebrations, they didn't start off as celebrations. They started off as protests. Does this sound familiar, people? Yes, sometimes protesting actually causes change and makes society better. So the reason that we celebrate LGBT Pride in June is because the Stonewall Bar in New York City, in the West Village, got raided by the police. Judy Garland had just died, and a bunch of gays were really upset about that. Because Judy Garland's like, especially like old school, sort of like what Britney Spears is now for like younger gays. Judy Garland was for like a couple generations before us. So Judy Garland died, and you go to your gay bar and you mourn with your community, and the police raided, as they often did, and because I guess homosexuality wasn't quite legal, and the cops needed something to do, so they came into the Stonewall Tavern and raided it, and finally the gays, and more importantly, I do not like having transgender history erased. The transgender community as well. A trans woman of color is the one who basically threw the first brick, kind of like incited a riot of like, we will not take this anymore. It's like, we just want to live our lives in peace as lesbians, gays, bisexuals, transgender, queer, the queer umbrella, as we now say, back then queer was still very much a derogatory term, but these days, queer is sort of like basically anything that's not, cisgendered, heterosexual, heteronormative. So yeah. The Stonewall riots, as they became known as. Although, interestingly enough, even though, so that happened last weekend in June, which is why we celebrate Pride Month. Pride Month is June. A lot of cities' pride events. Marsha P. Johnson, yes, thank you. I should have name dropped her. So, yes, Marsha P. Johnson is the trans woman of color who basically helped. I mean, it was a whole bunch of people, but she's the one who reportedly, kind of like threw the first brick. I'm not even actually sure if it was a brick, but was like, we won't take it anymore. Cops, just let us live our lives. And, we're trying to mourn Judy Garland, and that started gay liberation is what it was called. And in fact, in the early days, it wasn't, these were not pride parades. These were gay liberation parades and protests. The first, the very first Pride was a riot. And then every year after that, the last weekend in June, it started off as like a protest march, like don't forget. And, we are being persecuted. We are being oppressed. And, thankfully, over the years, I mean, we're now talking, 50, that was 51 years ago, I believe. 51, 52, 51, it was 69, I think. God, I used to work at the oldest gay and lesbian newspaper in the country. You would think that all of these queer history things would be burned into my brain. I'm pretty sure it's 69 though, is when June 69 is when the Stonewall riots happened, and every last weekend in June since, New York, San Francisco, these places of where lots of there's a large LGBT community would come together. And over these 51 years, it has now slowly mutated from being a protest, a riot, a protest march, to now being a celebration. We've made so many, as a community, we've made so many inroads, and, it's like you win some, you lose some. It's been a lot of 2 steps forward, 1 step back, but always forward. So, we do have a lot to celebrate. And so, LGBT pride, gay pride, whatever you want to call it, queer pride, you know what I'm talking about. It's always a good weekend here in San Francisco, and it's always like it's our third biggest weekend. Booty Mashup's third biggest weekend. June 28th, 1969. Yes, thank you. It's our third biggest weekend, next to Halloween is actually bigger. New Year's Eve is our second biggest weekend, and I'm so happy that Pride weekend is our third biggest party. And I love seeing all my faces, all my crew. So it's nice to see Erison and Kat, her partner Kat, like in the live stream and rocking it. And so all this weekend, it's all the it's a bunch of the queer DJs in our crew. Myself, I fulfill the T and the B of LGBT. We got Jupiter Gatling coming up. We're gonna bring her onto the show. Yeah, Erison and Kat are so damn cute. Like, I think that, maybe I'm a little biased. I think that myself and Jupiter are like super hella cute couple. And then I just see Erison and Kat, and I'm like, oh man, they're giving us a run for the money. They're really cute too. I mean, there's enough cute to go around, right? Is it too much? No, it's never enough cuteness. We need more cute, the super cute. So Mashup Talk. So this show sort of started off as kind of like interviewing our guest DJs and talking about a lot of mashup culture and stuff. And now it's just sort of devolved from being sort of like a podcast type show to now just chatting. And I hope you guys are okay with that. Yes, no problem with the historical detail. Oh, that brings me to my next thing. Okay, so I know you guys like story time when I do story time. So the what we know of today as Pride, gay pride, LGBT pride, its roots are from the June 1969 Stonewall riots, when trans women of color, gays of all stripes, basically rebelled against the police. However, Stonewall gets all the credit. New York City, where the Stonewall Tavern is, gets all the credit because it's New York. And, New York, thinks it's the center of the universe. But let me tell you, children, that was not the first, queer riot. In fact, 3 years before the Stonewall riots happened, it was a hot August night in San Francisco at a place called Compton's Cafeteria. Compton's Cafeteria was a, just like one of those sort of, counter diner type places. It was, a diner, like a Greasy Spoon diner type place. And it's in the Tenderloin. It's a neighborhood that it's a little Skid Row-ish. It's, a little rough and tumble. A lot of sex industry workers. A lot of people struggling with drug addiction. Not like the greatest neighborhood. Let's be honest. But there's a neighborhood like that in every city. So Compton's Cafeteria was in the Tenderloin, and which apparently the name of the neighborhood is Tenderloin because I don't know if this is true or not, but because it was a little of a rougher neighborhood, if you were a cop and that was your beat, that was your patrol, was that neighborhood, they paid you a little extra so you could buy tenderloin steak. So that's why it ended up being called the Tenderloin. I don't know. No one actually knows if that's true or not, but that's, that is a story it goes around. So anyway, in the Tenderloin, a lot of, as I said, sex industry workers, including transgender prostitutes. That's... 54 years ago this happened. Not a whole lot has changed. A lot of times for sex work is an easy, and sometimes the the easiest work you can get if you're trans, because some places, depending on where you live, don't really like hiring trans people. And thankfully, again, we've made great inroads as a community that has changed. But anyway, so so this would be where where the ladies of the night and the boy hustlers as well would congregate in Compton's Cafeteria. And then what happened? The cops show up and try to start arresting people, and people who are just eating, they're not even soliciting there. And it's always trans women of color, God bless them, who basically there was a transgender riot, rebelling against the cops. It lasted for, not unlike Stonewall riots, lasted for a couple days, and it was and this has been largely forgotten in history. In fact, there are not even police records for this, because apparently the precinct where those records were held, there was a fire, so these records are lost. There's a couple little blips in a newspaper, and that's about it. In fact, if you go to that street corner where Compton's Cafeteria used to be in San Francisco, there's actually 2 plaques, and all it says is a hot August night, because they don't even know exactly which date it happened. So anyway, but 3 years before Stonewall, we were still fighting for queer liberation, fighting for the right to simply exist without being harassed by the police. But of course, that happened in San Francisco and kind of got buried in the media, apparently. They don't even know what date it happened. Meanwhile, the Stonewall riots happened in New York City, so it made a bigger splash, and there we go. But this is typical of things in San Francisco, especially in the queer community. There's such a huge queer community here. Stuff happens here, and it's just like, oh yeah, whatever. And then it happens in New York, and it's like, oh my God, have you heard about this new thing? And it's like, yeah, I'm from San Francisco. We've been doing this for like 10 years. Oh, it finally made it to New York. Okay. And I'm talking like, yeah, mostly in the queer community stuff. Like, oh, there's a hot new music genre, or a new style of drag, or some cute lesbian party or something, and it's like, it's been happening here forever, but we don't have that pop culture cachet that New York City does. And this is why I'm often very conflicted. I love New York, but New York, I don't need to love New York because New York loves itself just a little too much. Cheers, everybody. Okay. All right. So yeah, thanks everyone for being here, celebrating Pride weekend with us. This is such a weird Pride weekend. Like, normally there are events happening all week. There's the LGBT film festival. There's parties. So many of my friends are in town. They are, DJing or performing or, whatever. And it's just so strange. I see along in the streets, there are rainbow flags hanging and stuff. And I live like right where the main stage is for the Pride festivities on Saturday and Sunday, and it's so weird. But anyway, don't feel like an asshole for living in New York. You're fine, nerdy hobbit. It's not. Like I said, I love New York, but there is definitely, like, New York gets a lot of credit for things that didn't actually originate in New York, but people think that they did, so that's that sort of thing. Although, hold on a minute, I will. You know who's worse though? London is worse. Exhibit A, punk rock. Punk rock started in New York City, and it wasn't until, the Sex Pistols took off in the UK, like a couple years later, and, where it's like, oh yeah, punk rock, it's this total British thing, started in London, started in England, God Save the Queen. And it was like, and New Yorkers are like, hello. Forget about it. We've been doing punk rock I can't do a New York accent. I should not even bother. And don't get me wrong, I love London too. Yes, hello, real finger trouble. It's true though. Anyway. Should we bring Jupiter Gatling? It's always more fun when there's two of us kvetching and chit-chatting. Let's give Jupiter Gatling a little Skypey call and bring her in, because I am missing her, and you guys like to see cute queer couples here, right? So on this channel. Where are you?
Hello.
Well, there you are, Miss Jupiter
Can you
Gatling.
see me?
I see you in your lovely green screen.
My lovely green screen.
Okay, so we just figured this out that you had a plane ticket to fly to San Francisco like earlier this week, right?
Yeah. Let me check the date. It is June 27th, and oh God, on Monday, on June 22nd, my plane ticket should have taken off back to San Francisco, just in time for Pride, so I can go to the Trans March with you.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I forgot. Yeah, because today's Friday.
Today would have been a Trans March.
Yeah, and they always have. It's the largest trans march in the world, I believe. It's every year it gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and it was like, so yeah, we've got the main Pride Parade on Sunday. On Saturday, we have the Dyke March, and Friday has become the Trans March.
And Saturday is also the booty party. That is just like one of my favorite parties to ever DJ. Yes.
Yeah.
And Sunday is your Pride House party, which is like literally the best party of the year. I gotta say, the Corona apocalypse I mean, I'm dealing fairly well with it, I think. Obviously, like streaming and seeing you and
Yeah.
having the chat and everything, and playing music and having like this great resonance, it makes me feel a lot better. So I feel like I can deal fairly well with the Corona apocalypse. But now that it's Pride and nothing's going on because it's not possible, it is getting to me. Like I'm really missing the
Yeah.
real life right
Yeah,
now.
you and I have both quarantined fairly well. I mean, especially compared to, I know other people are really starting to lose their minds, and you and I are like, we're nerdy. We're good
I'm a
at
freelance
sitting at
art
home, and
director or like a freelance motion designer. I just sit at home and work from home all the time anyway. Like I'm a hermit. That's my job, literally.
yeah, exactly. So, and
Question:
and
Can you hear me well?
I
Actually,
hear you totally fine.
can the chat hear me? Can the chat pod hear me?
I feel like the chat pod can hear you because you seem about as loud as I am. So yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, it's frustrating. This is definitely the weekend where it kind of like really sinks in that it's like, oh, this is it. Now we're starting to get into the time of year where we're really going to start missing stuff. And even though I'm kind of like Burning Man's going to come up in 2.5 months, and even though I've been like, oh, whatever, I can take a year off, I know when we get to the end of August, the same way this week, I'm like, oh.
I gotta say, even I, who's like, not the biggest Burning Man fan, I'm kind of like, I kind of miss Burning Man a little bit. Like thinking about it or talking about it recently, kind of a lot with you. It's just like, you know what? It could have been fun.
Yeah. Yeah, and I
Oh well.
always I see real finger trouble is like, oh, I can never afford to go to SF in June. You always have a place to stay for free if you ever want to come visit San Francisco. You're like booty family, please. Although usually I was like, I always have somebody staying here for Pride, don't I?
Pride is busy. Yeah, Pride
Yeah.
you always get
It's like either
random people
Shy
visiting
Boy and
exactly for
Mark and
reason.
Freddie and other random people, but yeah, but it's DJ Lexi from New York, Alexandra, but yeah, it's I mean, this is a really great city to be in the last weekend in June. So yeah, I'm sorry you're not I'm sorry you're not here.
Yeah.
I miss
But
you.
it's not like I'm missing the party. There is no party.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Although apparently there was a little bit of there was a not a trans march, but there was a gathering in the park. The park, Buena Vista Park. Wait,
Hmm.
not Buena Vista. I'm sorry, Dolores
Dolores?
Park. Dolores Park.
Oh, as it always is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Apparently there was a gathering there of like a trans march, but without the march.
Today?
Yeah. Apparently today. Yeah.
Oh, cute.
So, I mean, I'm still super crazy Howard Hughes level paranoid about everything, so I'm still avoiding crowds. But also,
Same. The numbers in Berlin kind of went up drastically again, or in Germany overall. So I'm like, I'm just gonna stay here.
I just got a text on my phone. I signed up for San Francisco. The city of San Francisco has like a COVID-19 alert thing, like like
Oh,
any kind of public emergency type thing. And I was like, basically, here I'm gonna paraphrase it. This isn't how it said. This isn't what it said, but this is how I hear it in my head. Yeah, sorry. We thought we were going to have everything be able to be open by July 1st, but everyone's just fucking up. So yeah, it's just same as usual. Everything we said about businesses reopening on July 1, forget about it.
today I saw a post by Monster Ronsons, our beloved karaoke bar. If you're ever in Berlin, definitely check it out. It's like the queerest, best punk rock karaoke drag, gay, everything bar you can go to. And they have an amazing song selection, like the weirdest, most obscure songs you think of. They fucking have it.
Yeah.
You can sing all of Hedwig and the Angry Inch on stage while dancing on a pole at Monster
They don't
Ronsons.
have every Hedwig song, but they do have a lot. Yeah.
Well, okay, they have all the karaoke hits, I guess.
Mm.
But yeah, they don't have Exquisite Corpse, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, So they were open for, I believe, a total of 2 weeks. And today I got the message that, well, Germany changed the laws again. Now you are not allowed to sing indoors again. So they needed to shut down again,
Yeah.
which is
Uh,
pretty tragic. But I mean, understandable. Like, yeah, we just kind of try to get all over this. And if numbers go up again, you got to have restrictions
yeah,
again.
exactly. Happy Pride.
Happy Pride. Well, that's too depressing, sadly.
So I
Oh,
have
come on.
something to ask you. I
Something.
wanted to bring this up because we were sort of talking about like what are we going to talk about, and you were like, oh, coming out stories, which I think is interesting because I've had to come out several times. Weirdly, I like first came out as bisexual, and then which was super weird because my mother, I came out to my mother. I mean, I came out to my friends, but coming out to my mother, she was just like, "No, you're not." And I'm like, "Yeah, I am." And
What you mean? No,
no,
you're
you're not.
not.
You're gay. Is what she, you know. She was like, "I don't think you're bisexual. I think you're gay." But this is like, I was pretty femmy. So even when I was a boy, I was pretty femmy. So I think oftentimes people mistake trans for simply being gay. There are, if you're a woman with a short haircut, you're obviously a lesbian, right? Not that
Obvious.
maybe you end up being a trans man. If you're
Non-binary.
a girly boy who wears makeup and women's
Just a
clothes,
tomboy.
I'm obviously a fag. And, I'm like, which I,
Different time.
which I gotta say though, that programming that society tells you with that did sort of like, I was like, huh, well, I do kind of like guys, but I mean, I knew for sure I wasn't like purely gay because I was always attracted to women. But I was certainly open to men, and then it was like, okay, well, I'm definitely bisexual, and now that I'm trans, I'm kind of like, huh, well, I'm actually more gay. Like all my relationships are with women, so it's like I'm more romantically inclined for gayness, I guess. But sex with dudes is easy, so.
Question. I just changed something in my sound. Do I sound better or worse? Can you even still
I
hear me?
still hear you. You sound about the same,
Okay.
honestly. Remember,
Okay.
you're coming in through Skype. So, yeah,
Okay. Yeah, I just noticed that I had you on speaker the entire time, so you should actually be feedbacking in my
weird.
microphone, but you didn't.
And you
Wow.
you
Okay.
also sort of have like a weird little coming out thing because, well, you tell it because you're attracted to people like me. So what does that make you?
What does it make me? I invented a word for me. I always say that I'm transophile because I'm mostly attracted to trans people. My type is I don't know what your gender is. Like I can't figure it out. Oh,
Well,
hi.
and what I find fascinating is you're pretty pansexual or bisexual in your transophileness. Like if you're AMAB, but in femme presentation, you're attracted. But if you're AFAB, and by the way, for people who don't know, AMAB, AMAB, AFAB, AFAB, these are the politically correct terms for, assigned male at birth, assigned female at birth. So, but you don't even care. It's like if your gender presentation is different from how you were assigned at birth, you're there for it. Like what?
Totally, yeah. But I'm not attracted to men that look like men or women that look like women, so to say, if in
That's
very simple
so
terms.
weird. There's got to be, I mean, that's a great term for it, but like somebody needs to do like a doctoral thesis because, like, I mean, in my last relationship, which let's face it, that she was attracted to me being feminine, but didn't like me to go too far. But she had brainwashed me into thinking that, she was like this. That was the best I was ever going to get because women do not like transgender women, which is not at all the case. And then it was like some Jedi mind trick stuff she was doing because, of course I meet you and now just you and I both have like met so many other people who are like this.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. What should I say? What a bitch.
I know, totally. But but this is also why I love the term queer, because like the term gay and lesbian is just as binary and limiting as hetero or straight. You and I have both definitely kind of float in these weird gray areas of who and what we're attracted to.
Well, I would very much say that the label pansexual applies to me, but bisexual doesn't apply to me at all because bisexual kind of takes gender more into account. So like you're attracted to your own and other genders, right? Whereas I don't think of it as that way. I literally kind of have a hard time like figuring out people's gender. So much to your amusement often.
Well, I mean,
So
as a trans person, I think we tend to we can clock other trans people better than anybody. So it's always like I
well,
always know
no,
the
no, no,
tells,
no.
and then you
Like
are always like you're convinced they're cisgender when in fact I'm like, come on, look, like that's like to me it's so obvious that person we're both like ogling is transgender.
well, also the other way. Sometimes I think someone is trans and they're cis instead, So I just kind of gave up. I'm just like, you're hot, you're not so much, you're hot.
Right. I mean, it's like your attraction is based on your perception of hotness rather than, oh, I like dudes, that's a dude. I like girls, that's a girl, whatever, that kind of thing.
Yeah,
Exactly.
very much. So I think pansexual kind of describes this best with a strong preference for, you know, not cis
Yeah.
people.
And all of this is sort of I mean, this is all this awareness of this sort of thing has all been in the time that you and I have been in a relationship, you know? Cuz you only dated men before me, correct?
Yeah, and I could never quite figure out why I didn't like that.
Well, I mean, I think there's a kind of an academic there's a term for it. Compulsory heterosexuality, comp het.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. ContraPoints was talking
ContraPoints.
about
That
that
was the first
exactly.
I'd heard of it as well, because ContraPoints. For those who don't know, ContraPoints is
Well,
a YouTuber, really great intellectual academic video essays that deal with a lot of identity issues, gender issues, and like left tube kind of stuff. But anyway, yeah. So how would you describe comp het? It's
well, it's basically you as a society, which is like it's a very heteronormative society we live in, right? So you're kind of taught, okay, you're a girl, you're into boys, you're a boy, you're into girls, and so ContraPoints mentioned in a video would be like it was actually her coming out video where she said she is a lesbian and had a hard time figuring this out as well, and
especially as a
she
trans
described
woman, because she
as a
comes out
trans
as
woman,
trans
yeah.
is the thing. Like she was when she was a guy, she was attracted to women, but then when she transitioned, and it's like this mythology of like oh, you're trying to pass as a woman, so now you need to be straight, kind of like almost as a way for the validation, society to
Yeah.
read you as a straight woman. It's like gender identity and sexual attraction are two different things.
Yeah, they're not the same. Well, exactly. And so she said in the video that especially women have a hard time figuring out the sexuality especially if they're not straight, and it takes them a lot longer. So there's a lot of women that don't realize until their 30s that they're actually lesbians or that they're at least bisexual or like not straight in any
Right.
way, that they're queer. And it seems to be a lot easier for boys or like for men or AMAP to figure this out because I'm trying to quote her as well as I can. Um, there is nothing. like the inferno of testosterone-filled puberty.
Yeah, it was something like that. Oh,
So,
yeah. So,
uh,
of
uh,
course, it's like, yeah, you've got all these,
yeah, you're like, I
all the
don't know, you're
hormones.
probably 14, you're a boy on testosterone, you're just like, know exactly what you want. You know what you're hot for. If you're like into boys, into girls, into non-binary people, like anything, like your testosterone seems to be much more of a driver to get you
Right.
horny, right?
Yeah. Okay.
And it's not quite the same for women, where or like AFAB, where you just question, I think I like this, I think I like this. You're just trying to figure it out. And I kind of had the same issue too. I was only dating men so far. All my friends said I'm probably bisexual, which I don't know what they were talking about. um, I had like this weird obsession with tattoo,
Tattoo,
which,
the
I
Russian
the
fake
Russian fake
lesbian
lesbian
duo.
band,
Yeah.
yeah. I know you always give me shit about them being like fake lesbians, right? But I see it like, okay, this is like wrestling, it's not real, but it's like a show. And for a country that now completely banned homosexuality and made it illegal, having like a lesbian pop duo with like completely lesbian songs, even if it's not real, I appreciate it. Because back in the day, how much lesbian representation was there
Oh,
even? So,
yeah.
you had Sailor Uranus and Neptune, and you had Tattoo when you're a kid in your teens, if you're sort of confused but don't even know
Sure.
it. I
Yeah. I
mean,
mean,
just, cut me some slack here, okay? Let me love Tattoo. I was only listening to goth and rock back then. That was the only pop band I was listening to. It should have given me a hint, but it has not.
oh my God. Yeah. Like I mean, I talked about this on Wednesday during my LGBT Pride listening party, where Duran Duran was my when I was a kid, was my obsession.
Was your
Yeah, and
Tattoo?
that made sense because it was like, oh, these guys are hot. Like, I'm sort of attracted to them. But at the same time, and then it was like Nick Rhodes, who was the super, super, super androgynous one, wearing lots of makeup. And it was like, do I want to be him or do I want to fuck him? And the answer was yes and yes, really. But now it's more like I have a respect for that look because he's maintained that dandy look. And I think for many years I was basically non-binary, and then I've slowly realized that no, I'm the flavor of transgender I am is actually just being a trans woman. Boring.
I was never attracted to Tattoo. I'm still not. I'm not attracted to the girls at all. It's not like I wanted to, like I wasn't attracted to them because I'm not attracted to women that look like women. But I like the
Oh yeah,
concept.
did
Like,
you like
you
okay,
know,
you mentioned from Sailor Moon, Sailor Uranus and Sailor Neptune, and Sailor Uranus has like a
yeah.
total like hot, soft butch tomboy look.
Oh yeah, she's very much a tomboy look. She also, dresses only in male clothing. Oftentimes they refer to her as he, so she's swapping pronouns all the
Mhm.
time. In the manga, she's actually intersex, so she's very much gender fluid. And oh yeah, hell yeah, I had a crush on Uranus. Of course, there's an entire episode of Sailor Jupiter crushing hard on Sailor Uranus, and I'm like, what's going on here?
Relatable.
I can relate.
Oh, that's adorable.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. And yeah, again, so yeah, I was like very confused about my sexuality for most of the time, I guess. I kind of always I wanted to be like them, but I felt like I'm not. But I don't know, it's kind of hard. And yeah, like all these things that my friends kept hinting at me, or all those things that I did, or that were part of my identity, that were hints to other people, never tipped me off. It wasn't until our good friend, who's also a trans girl, like kept repeatedly telling me that, honey, you're not
You're
straight.
not
That I'm
straight.
like, you know what? You know what? But what actually made it's so ridiculous. So I'm a pole dancer, as a few of you know, which that's hence the pole behind me, right? But I'm not doing it right now because I hurt my wrist, and it's better. It's gotten definitely better. I just have like every now and then I do a weird movement, and then it's like, ah, fuck, and then I'm waiting another 2 days to do anything. I've gotten back on it. I do like little strength training again, but I'm not feeling super comfortable doing it during a DJ set because I will probably just do something stupid. So give me like 1 or 2 more weeks and then I'm back at
Okay.
it. Um, But anyway, so yeah, but I'm a pole performer, so I have like these cosplay pole numbers, which you can check out on my YouTube if you want. If you find Jupiter Gatling on YouTube, you're gonna see all my nerdy cosplay numbers, and one of them is my Frozen number, which always unpack at Pride every
Oh,
year
the
too.
Elsa,
Um,
basically making the you know Elsa from Queen Elsa from Frozen is actually, we all know she's a
she's
coded
gay.
gay
I mean, come
character.
on,
Yeah.
Oh wait, Muffin just asked a Sailor
Oh,
Moon question. Gotta answer that.
What is the name of the one villain who is basically in a dom sub relationship with another one, but who was made
So it's
female?
Zita and Conceited. So Zita and Conceited is very famous Sailor Moon gay couple. They are like the two hot villains. Conceited is the dom. So Zita is the sub character, I guess. So Zita is, a very femmy boy with long blonde hair, and obviously in a relationship with Conceited. So they made Soy Zita a woman in most dubs because you can't
Right.
tell. But originally they're both men and are in a gay relationship.
Fabulosa says you
Yeah,
should check out Polsexual on Sundays. Like you don't already.
have performed at
Exactly.
Polsexual.
In fact, you even
I
threw a Polsexual Berlin. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, I asked the two creators of Polsexual if I can have their name and create the Berlin brand of Polsexual because the name is fantastic and
Such
I
a
like
good
the
name.
concept.
Yeah.
So why not expand it? So yeah, I threw at Monster Ronson's, the club I mentioned earlier, the karaoke bar, which is also a great venue for like any kind of queer events. I threw a Polsexual party myself, Polsexual Berlin, where I had like all kinds of, you know, amazing drag performers, pole performers. I even flew in Cesar, the superstar from San Francisco, because he's such a staple of the Polsexual show. So I invited him to my house to perform for me. And Shanita Bamba, one of my all-time favorite drag creatures, like an amazing
Oh yeah.
performer. Like I
Yeah.
can't even. Uh, so anyway, back to the theme. Okay, so my Elsa number. Uh, Somewhere in the show where towards the big reveal, instead of having the big reveal be the ice
Powers.
costume,
Yeah.
which I have, yeah, which I have very early on in the show. In fact, my big reveal is like I strip everything down and I'm there just dressed in rainbows. And I basically ended all covered in a rainbow flag. So I'm there on stage dressed on Elsa, debuting the show for the first time in like around Christmas a few years ago. I'm wearing the matching panties. I'm fucking all covered in glitter and rainbows. And I'm like, hey, I think I'm gay.
Oh my god, that was when you realized it, when you were on stage. Basically
That
on
was it.
stage
Yeah.
doing a cosplay pole performance of a coded queer character. I mean,
Yeah, till I noticed. I think I was
like
quoted
there's
gay
so
all
many
the
levels of
time.
subtext here of like, because Elsa, it's like there's always like, oh, Elsa's gay, and but it's like, but I don't even think she knows it, because Elsa's just so wrapped up in dealing with ice powers that she doesn't even know if she's gay or not, because she's never been an opportunity to deal with it, and Disney's not going to go there yet. Maybe they will for Frozen 3, but they weren't not for
Maybe
Frozen 2.
10 years,
But
we'll see.
but
So
so yeah, that was a little bit of life imitating art then, in a way, huh?
but it was, I mean, I know it's very common for performers. I know not for you, but to have like their performer persona having almost like a different person living within you who communicates with you, especially if that persona has a different name than your own name. Like she's talking to you, right? Because you're Adriana A all the time. You
I
don't
don't know
have
where the
that, but I
stage
have
ends
it.
and where it
I
begins.
mean, exactly. You're like BoJack and Filbert. Check out BoJack Horseman too, as we're talking about great shows. BoJack Horseman is probably the best television show I've ever fucking watched. Yeah, it's technically better than Sailor Moon, but Sailor Moon has just so much
Sure.
nostalgia value. Nothing can be ever better than this. But no, BoJack Horseman is great. Anyway, so it was almost like in this moment when I was Jupiter Gatling, Jupiter telling me, dude, you're gay. And the best thing about this is there were photographers at the show, right? So afterwards, I received like the pictures from the show, and there's like this exact moment, me rainbow, rainbow, covered in rainbow with the rainbow flag, rainbow, rainbow, and I'm like, this is the exact moment when I noticed, dude, you're gay.
But I remember kind of giving you a little shit for it because I think I was very invested in a non-binary identity at that point, I think. And I was sort of like, yeah, but you've only sort of been with a transgender woman. You haven't like been with a real woman. So how do you even know for sure kind of thing? Well, you have now. Well, I mean, since
You mean
that
back?
time you have, yes, but at that time, I think I was I
Wow.
was I was being a gatekeeping bitch. Is what I was being.
Yeah, stop being a gatekeeping asshole. Like seriously, don't you read all these aspirational non-binary memes on posted on the Sailor Moon picture? How to not be a gatekeeper? Maybe you should hang out on
Wait, what is
Gamer
it?
Moon more.
Well, oh my god, I want to see. Send me the link. I so want to see these.
It's like a gay Sailor Moon meme group, you know. It's like a bunch of cute NB people doing
Oh,
Sailor
cute.
Moon and
No,
other
that yeah,
anime
I
memes.
subscribe to a
Anyway,
or subscribe, just have it bookmarked. A trans meme Reddit, which is pretty. It's a lot of cat ears, but other than that, it's cute. Um,
yeah.
so wow, so this is uh relatively recent then that you've sort of had this like now have you had a coming out kind of thing? You haven't really. It's sort of like if you told your family like, hey, I mean, or your family just sort of like kind of rolls with everything with you, right? So
I mean,
I mean, they've met me,
yeah.
so I think they're already like, we're not quite sure what's going on, but hopefully,
Look, I made my father change your pronouns and, told him that you changed your name and
yeah.
everything. He's just like, okay, you're a vegetarian. That was a lot harder. That was a lot harder for him.
Uh,
So, like, after he, swallowed that, like,
yeah.
nothing can be as bad as that. So, I think it's cool. And yeah, I mean, my family, it's not like I needed to, like, come out. I guess they're just like,
Yeah.
well, look at that.
Right.
Guess she's
Yeah,
gay.
it's sort of funny with my family. My uncle came out as bisexual, and I remember he did that like fairly soon after I had come out to my family, and it was such a relief. It was like, oh, good, I'm not the only one, somebody who like understands, this experience. So that was always helpful. And my mom, I mean, oh my god, my mother. I mean, the whole like, no, you're really gay. My therapist says bisexuality doesn't exist, is what she told me. And I know, right?
Woo.
And then she ended up in like a bisexual triad relationship for like a brief little spell. And I remember her, and I was like, giving her a little side eye and eyebrow, and she was like, you were right, I'm sorry that yeah.
I
I
love
know,
gay
right?
stories.
Oh, Fabulosa69 asks, Adriana, were your outfits more fabulous and cute when you were a boy or now? Oh, no. When I was a boy, I mean, the thing is I always had this, like, as soon as I discovered, um, I mean, like a lot of the bands and the music artists that I liked, we're talking like, throughout the 80s, we're talking like, the band Poison that were all like super glam rock and basically looked like, women, at least on that first album. And you've got like, Dead or Alive, where, he has a very feminized appearance. Duran Duran, super like, like most of the guys in that band were pretty, what we would now term metrosexual. But, then there was Nick Rhodes, who just basically looked like a hot girl in so many images. So I think that was sort of what I was drawn to and what I emulated. So I was wearing guy liner at 16. I guy
That's my
liner.
favorite word.
I was, I shopped. I've been shopping it in the women's clothes section since I was like 14 or 15. So, my appearance is definitely changed, but I never had like a dandy look. It was just very androgynous. I always cultivated androgyny, I guess. And then at a certain point, like the androgyny just sort of slipped into transgenderness. I think it's really sort of,
That's how it goes. And, just wearing rainbow suddenly made you gay. Who would have known?
But this isn't
Who would have
everyone. I mean,
known?
there's so many people who, who are androgynous and cultivate that androgyny, and they're totally okay with that. It's like not every, tomboyish butch lesbian is like a closeted trans man. Sometimes they're just like a butch lesbian, and that's okay.
Yeah. Talking about that, if you haven't yet watched Nanette, the comedy a show by, oh god, I'm blanking on the name. Chatpot, help me. Who made Nanette?
Nanette?
What's her name? Yeah. Oh god, I'm blanking on the name. It's a female lesbian comedian. I feel like Muffelmuck just recently talked about her. Yeah, danke. Hannah Gadsby. Danke. Dope, Camilla. Yeah, watch Nanette by Hannah Gadsby. This was one of the things that she said too. Somebody, apparently she received like a fan mail that said, "Hey, when are you finally coming out as a trans man?" And she's like, "What?"
Well, I think I can totally see that now because, thankfully we are in a culture where, transness is not necessarily what.
Senpai noticed me. The manager just said, "Senpai noticed me."
That's so cute. Where transness is so, it's not necessarily hidden. It's not everything needs to be, the end goal of being trans used to always be being in stealth mode. And now it's like, if you're obviously trans, that's kind of okay. But I think it sort of blurs the lines a little bit when you've got like, feminine men and masculine women, and they're okay with being men and women. But it's this, like, in some ways, our society's got even more gendered, where even if you're trans, or even if you're not trans, society wants to sort of push you in that direction because
Just
right, exactly.
It's
Like
binary.
gender non-conform, and there are like tomboys and Nelly dandies who are just like it's like I'm not transgender. I'm just yeah, exactly. And not even like,
yeah.
I guess technically gender non-conforming, but they don't necessarily feel like they're gender non-conforming. They're basically just not conforming to gender stereotypes, And yeah, exactly.
Yeah, true.
So, yeah, it's it's got to be hard, I think, for parents in some ways, because your kid might be growing up and, like you're a girl and you want to play with trucks and you want to wear jeans and you want your hair short. And then, it's like, do you start the kid on hormones, or are they just sort of like a butch tomboy kind of girl, that kind.
I guess
Yeah,
the kid
exactly.
needs to tell
But
you.
also, kids change their minds. Kids, like some. I mean, look. Let's put it this way. I wish that I wish I was either born. I wish I was born cisgendered because that my life would be so much easier. But if not that, then I wish I was just like, I know that I am a woman inside of me, but I did not fit that narrative at all. It was just sort of like I liked girly stuff, and I'm just like I didn't have gender dysphoria with my genitals, but I really wanted a feminized presentation. And it's like this weird gray area that is really hard. And I mean, same thing with sexuality too, where I was like, I mostly like girls, but I also like guys as well, and. Oh, like at least with that, there was like, okay, you're bisexual, but we live in such a black and white world, and it does not seem like it's getting like I feel like in the 70s, like during the glam rock era, and like the swinging, the 70s, like things were a little looser. And nowadays it just seems like you've gotta like, even though we have more terms for it, you still need to be like defined as this thing. Whereas like there are all these artists, Yeah,
very
exactly. Like
narrow.
the
Yeah.
artist Sylvester, disco queen Sylvester. Male name, had a like kind of a disco diva-ish voice, but definitely was born male, but feminized appearance. I mean, I think nowadays we would probably think of Sylvester as non-binary, but back then, like drag queen didn't work either. I was like, and then Bowie's another perfect example of someone who really played with gender and didn't need to necessarily be as narrowly defined as people these days, seem to have to be.
I just weirdly found
Of
glitter on my leg, and I don't know where it's coming from. In case you were wondering what I was looking at, it's like, why
why
is my
does your
leg
leg?
glittering? I don't
Oh
know where it's
my
coming from,
god.
but I'm just uh, there's
Hey,
just
it's
glitter. It's
it's
like
Pride
I don't know.
weekend. I mean, there's you should be shitting glitter, okay?
It's like, verbs coming out of the window,
Right?
glitter coming
Yeah.
out of the table. I don't know what's going on in my house.
Oh my god. Okay, so
Oh
I'm gonna
well.
let you go because I think I need to start a DJ set in about 3 minutes, don't I?
You kind of have. I can't believe we were talking all this time again, and I still never told you my interesting, weirdest DJ story. But okay, I
Oh
guess next
please. Is that really
Also,
is that a story that is like pride, LGBT pride specific? Yeah, so save it
no,
for
not at
another time
all.
because
Not at all.
we know
So
how this show's
maybe
gonna
till next
go.
time. I think you just need to let me come in earlier next time. I think I need those 15 minutes extra. However, before I go, I want to quickly
Oh
announce
yeah,
what's
go
going
go for it.
on
I was gonna
later,
do it, but you do
because
it.
in a weird splurge of creativity I had this week, I not only designed 33 items for our upcoming merch shop, uh, which we're currently in quality control, so I can't tell you what it is yet in case it sucks, then we can't put it online. But it's gonna come soon, and the what you probably care about more today is I created 3 fucking
Woo!
mashups in a day
You're a
somehow.
real mashup producer
Uh,
now.
Mashup producer. So I'm trying. So I finished the demo that I was playing before, and now it sounds good. I made another one, which is kind of a gag. I'm gonna play it
No,
anyway.
3, not
And the third
31.
one is a legit mashup, which is like a very gay combo, which needed to happen for today. So I'm gonna drop all these 3 later. And related to that, through Twitch, I made friends with so many other mashup producers now because they find our channel. I text them up, and then we trade. We trade like MP3s and tracks like Pokemon cards. It's amazing. So I now my new current bestie of this week is now Mark Johns, who sent me a lot of his tracks and new unreleased things too. And I have the honor of premiering his new 80s Glory mashup
Mark
today,
Johns
later in my
made
set,
like an
which
80s mashup that to die for. Is that what you're saying? I love Mark Johns. Yeah. Yeah,
basically, yeah, you've
I have
never
not
heard it,
heard it
right?
yet, but Mark Johns is great,
Yeah.
so
He's great. Like he's producing all these very, very gay diva tracks,
he's
and
not
like
gay.
you'd never know
I
he's
know, but
straight.
it's really funny because I met him in Germany, and I think he like just sort of like offhand mentioned it's like, oh, I never go out, wife and kid at home or something like that, and I was like, and at first I thought he was
Yeah.
kind of fucking with me because like all of his mashups are like Kylie and Madonna and Britney, and it's like
I'm going
and
through
it's like
this Kylie,
it's
Katie, Madonna, Gaga, Gaga,
it's
Gaga,
all these
Gaga, Gaga,
it's all
Gaga,
these like
Gaga, Gaga.
what especially from an American perspective you would
And
be
so,
like you totally
yeah.
think it's like, oh my god, yeah, it's some gay dude who loves the divas made that, and I was like, what? And I was like, oh my god, I don't take this the wrong way, but I totally thought you were gay. And he didn't, he took it as a compliment,
But
but it's like I think it's
amazing.
like that total
Yeah,
like gay or European.
such a cliche. I never knew that it's a thing. Oh well. No, but all the tracks are great. Like I'm going through them right now. I might play a little bit more Mark Jones than usually, and yeah, he also gave me some feedback on the new track that I produced, and yeah,
Yeah,
let's see. I hope you
right.
like it too.
Okay, well, I'm gonna let you go. I'm gonna say my goodbyes, and we are gonna get a little dance party going. All right, ik
See you a little
liebe
later. Bye,
dich.
ciao.
Tschüss.
Ciao.
All right, Jupiter Gatling, everybody. I love like just bringing her on the show. Obviously, she's my partner, so we have a nice little rapport. But it's really it's fun to just sort of shoot the shit on this show. I guess this is literally what the show has become, is just chatting. Oh god, and in fact that reminds me, I need to change our little category, because we are not going to be just chatting anymore. We are going to get a little dance party going. So we a couple things. So this is actually technically the last Friday Night Live. Now, I know that like, what? What do you mean you're not going to do Friday Night Live anymore? No. This is the last branded Friday Night Live. I realize we do theme parties on Saturdays, right? We've been starting them up, and I'm putting together the schedule for July, and it's like, make the call out to my booty mashup DJs. It's like, hey, who wants to do like 4th of July weekend? Who wants to do Comic-Con weekend? And, and I was thinking, okay, this is just going to be the Saturday show. But, everyone wants to join in. Everyone wants to do a set. And I was like, I don't have enough DJ sets. And I was like, why don't we just make Friday and Saturday both whatever the theme is? So, Comic-Con weekend is both Friday and Saturday. Pride weekend is both Friday and Saturday. So Friday Night Live is dead. Long live just Friday nights, and yeah, don't worry, don't be scared. Is starting basically this week. Whatever's going on Friday will also be happening on Saturday, because we have too many DJs that want to like join in and take part. And sometimes the themes are just, vague anyway, like 4th of July weekend. It's like, how many times can we play Party in the USA next week? Probably not that many. Actually, yes, we could. We could probably do a full hour of it, but we won't. But, that kind of thing. So thank you guys so damn much for being on our channel and joining in. We passed the 100-day mark on Monday. Monday marked 100 days on Twitch. So now we're at like 105 days. And it's been quite a ride, quite an experience, as we are all about to go into lockdown once again. Yeah, I mean, because you know how it's gonna work. And here, just spoiler alert: we open up everything, and then people start, like crazy dying of, COVID-19, and then suddenly it's like, oh god, too soon, and then we lock everything down again. So, I know I keep saying that we're gonna keep live streaming even when we do parties again, but we're really not going to be doing parties for a while. Sadly, it's gonna be a bit. So for now, the party is here. Thank you guys so much for being here, and I'm going to switch things up. Okay, so for once, you don't need to refresh, or we're not going to lose anybody because this is me. I'm the first set. So let's see if this works. I'm gonna zip